Jesus, I surrender all to Him. I freely give. I will ever love and trust Him, in His presence daily live.
The 28th of December 1903, Volume 6, How All Lives Are in Christ. After I struggled very much, my blessed Jesus came for just a little and made me see many human souls inside of his humanity. And while I was seeing this, he told me, "My daughter, all human lives are in my humanity, in heaven as though inside a cloister. And since they are inside my cloister, the regime of their lives comes from me. Not only this, but my humanity, being the cloister, conducts the lives of each soul. What joy is mine when souls remain in this cloister, and the echo that comes from my humanity blends with the echo of each human life of the earth. And what bitterness is mine when I see that souls are not content and go out of it. Others remain, but forced and unwilling. They do not submit to the rules and the regime of my cloister. Therefore my echo does not blend with theirs." End of the reading. The 28th of December, Volume 8, the 28th of December 1908, Volume 8, Earthquakes in Sicily and Calabria. Finding myself in my usual state, I felt as if the earth was shaking and wanted to slip away from beneath us. I was concerned, and I said to myself, "Lord, Lord, what is this?" And he, in my interior, "Earthquakes." And he kept silent. I almost paid no attention to him, and within myself I continued my usual interior things when all of a sudden, about 5 hours after that word had been spoken to me, I felt the earthquake sensibly. As soon as I felt it cease, I found myself outside of myself, almost confused. I could see such harrowing things, but this sight was immediately removed from me, and I found myself inside a church. A young man clothed in white came from the altar. I believe he was our Lord, but I cannot tell with certainty. And drawing near me with an imposing look, he told me, "Come." I shrugged my shoulders without getting up, and calculating within me that at that hour he was scourging and destroying. I said, "Lord, you want to take me now?" almost refusing his invitation. And the young man threw himself into my arms, and in my interior I heard him say, "Come, O daughter, that I may end it with the world. I will destroy a great part of it with earthquakes, with waters, and with wars." After this, I found myself inside myself. End of the reading. The 28th of December, 1917, Volume 12. Jesus wants the continuous act of the creature. It does not matter if they are small. As long as there is the motion, the seed, he unites them to his own, and he makes them great. Continuing in my usual state and being a little in suffering, I thought to myself, how is it that I cannot find rest, either at night or during the day? Rather, the weaker and the more suffering I feel, the more my mind is awake and unable to take rest. And my sweet Jesus told me, "My daughter, you do not know the reason, but I do, and now I will tell you." My humanity had no rest. Even in sleep, I had no respite, but I worked intensively. And this because having to give life to everyone and everything and redo everything within me, it was convenient for me to work without stopping for one instant. And one who has to give life must be in continuous motion, an uninterrupted act. Therefore, I was in continuous act of letting lives of creatures out of myself and of receiving them. Had I wanted to rest, how many lives would not be delivered? How many without my continuous act would not develop and would remain withered? How many would not enter into me because the act of life of the only one who can give life is missing? Now, my daughter, since I want you together with me in my will, I want your continuous act. Therefore, your awake mind is act, and the murmuring of your prayer is act, the movements of your hands, the beating of your heart, the moving of your glances are acts. They may be small, but what do I care? As long as there is the motion, the seed, I unite them to mine. I make them great, and I give them the virtue of producing lives. My acts, too, were not all apparently great, especially when, as a little one, I moaned and suckled milk from my mamma. I amused myself in kissing her, caressing her, entangling my little hands with hers. Then when I was a little older, I picked flowers, I brought the water and other things. These were all little acts, but they were united in my will, in my divinity, and this was enough. They were so great as to be able to create millions and billions of lives. Therefore, as I was moaning, lives of creatures were coming out from my moans. I suckled, I kissed, I caressed, but lives were coming out. Souls were flowing in my fingers, entangled with the hands of my mamma. And as I picked the flowers and brought the water, souls were coming out from the heartbeat of my uncreated heart, and they entered into it. My motion was continuous. This is the reason for your vigil. When I see your motion and your acts in my will, now placing themselves at my side, now flowing in my hands, now in my voice, in my mind, or in my heart, I make of them the motion of all, and I give life to each one in my will, giving them the virtue of my own acts, and I make them run for the salvation and for the good of all. End of the reading. The 28th of December, 1921, Volume 13. Fears of Louisa. Jesus gives her peace. Louisa wants Jesus to do her will. I was feeling very afflicted and with such oppression that I felt I was dying because of certain things which it is not necessary to write here. Now my sweet Jesus, on coming, took me in his arms in order to sustain me and give me the strength, and then all sweetness and goodness told me, "My daughter, what is it? What is it? You oppress yourself too much, and I don't want it." And I, "My Jesus, help me. Do not abandon me in so much bitterness. What oppresses me the most is that I feel a volition arise within me, which would want to say to you, this time you will do my will, not I yours. The mere thought of this gives me death, and how true it is that your will is life. But the circumstances push me. Oh, please help me." And I burst into tears. And Jesus, letting his hands be wet by my tears and squeezing me more, added, "My daughter, courage. Do not fear. I am all for you. Do you see how beautiful my hands are, beaded with the tears of one who fears not doing my will? Not one of them fell to the ground. Now listen and calm yourself. I will do what you want, but not because you want it, rather as if I myself wanted it. Aren't you happy? After all, a little suspension of your state is necessary. I have no one to whom to entrust you. Who could do it? They have their hearts covered with an iron armour. My voices are neither listened to nor understood. The sins are horrendous, the sacrileges enormous. The scourges are already at the doors of the city. There will be great mortality. Therefore, a little suspension of your state which prevents the course of my justice, is needed. You will give me free time to come, and I, withdrawing without making you go out of my will give you all that you need. I remained in bitter more than ever, because many other things that Jesus told me regarding our sad times, though calm, because he assured me that he would not let me go out of his will. But the following day, my Queen Mama came, and bringing little baby Jesus to me, she placed him in my arms and told me, "My daughter, hold him tightly. Don't let him go. If you knew what he wants to do, pray him, pray him. Prayer in his will enraptures him and chains him. At least some of the scourges would be held back." After this, she disappeared, and I returned to the tragic doubt that I might have induced Jesus to do my will. End of the reading. The 28th of December, 1936, volume 34. The Celestial Heiress. How she calls her children to inherit her goods. How she arrives at gifting souls with her maternal love in order to form other mamas for Jesus. I continue the same theme. I was thinking about what was written above, and I said to myself, is it possible, all this chain of excessive love, that it seems that it never ends? I know that our Lord can do everything, but to arrive at so much, even to making descend from the height of his sanctity, this celestial mother, into the depth of our souls, and raising us as one of her most tender children, not only this, but to generate her son Jesus, and to raise us together, gives of the incredible. And although my heart felt burst for love and for joy, more so because I felt her in me, shadowed in her light, that with an indescribable love she raised me as her daughter, and together with me she raised her dear son. Yet I felt like not saying and not writing it also in order to not arouse difficulties and doubts. But my dear Jesus, that taking an imposing aspect as to not be able to resist him, told me, "My daughter, I want that what I have told you be written. In what I have told you there are seas of love that will invest creatures, and I do not want it to be suffocated. Therefore, if you do not write, I leave. Have you forgotten that I must conquer man by way of love, but love that will make it difficult for them to resist us?" I immediately said, "Fiat." And my beloved Jesus, taking his usual sweet and lovable aspect, with a love that I felt my heart burst, added, "My blessed daughter, there is nothing to doubt. My being is all love, and when it seems that I have given in such excesses of love as to not be able to show other excesses of love any more, as if I begin from the start, I invent other new excesses of love, other discoveries, as to surpass, oh, how much more, the other excesses of love. Now listen, my daughter, and you will convince yourself of what I have told you. Adam, by sinning, made all the evils inherited by the human generations, and having gone out of the beautiful inheritance of the divine will, in which he lived in opulence, luxury, and sumptuousness of the goods of his Creator, he lost the right of our goods, and all his descendants with him. But these goods were not destroyed. They exist, and they will exist. And when a good is not destroyed, there is also the certainty that the ones who will have the good of possessing them will come. Now the great queen began her life in the inheritance of this divine will, or better still, with such abundance that she felt drowned in the goods of her Creator, but so much so that she could render all the other creatures happy and rich. Now, in this inheritance of the fiat, she inherited the fruitfulness, the human and divine maternity. She inherited the word of the celestial Father. She inherited all the human generation. and these inherited all the goods of this celestial mother. Therefore, as her heirs and as mother, she has the right of generating her children in her maternal heart. But it was not enough for our and her love. She wanted to generate in every creature, and since she was heiress of the divine word, she held the power of making him be generated in each of them. How? If they can inherit evils, passions, weaknesses, why can they not inherit the goods? This is why the celestial heiress wants to make known the inheritance that she wants to give to her children. She wants to give her maternity to creatures so that while she generates him, they act as mammas to him. They love him as she loved him. She wants to form so many mammas for her Jesus in order to place him in safety and so that no one would offend him any more, because the love of mother is very different from other loves. It is a love that always burns and a love that gives her life for her dear child. See, she wants to gift creatures with her maternal love and make them heirs of her own son. Oh, how she will feel honoured in seeing that creatures love her Jesus with her love of mother. You must know that so much is her love toward me and toward creatures that she feels drowned. And not being able to contain it any more, she has prayed me that I would manifest to you what I have told you, her great inheritance that she waits for her heirs and what she can do for them, telling me, my son, do not wait any more. Hurry, manifest my great inheritance and what I can do for them. I feel myself more honoured, more glorified when you tell what your mamma can do than if I myself were to say it. However, all this will have its full effects, its palpitating life for this sovereign lady, when my will be known, and creatures in the inheritance of their mother will take the possession. So after this, my sweet Jesus gave me a kiss, telling me, in the kiss is communicated the breath, and therefore I have wanted to kiss you in order to communicate with my omnipotent breath the certainty of the goods and the great prodigy that my mother will do for the human generations. My kiss is the confirmation of what I want to do. I remained surprised, and he added, and you give me your kiss in order to receive the deposit of all these goods and to reconfirm your will in mine. If there is not one who gives and one who receives, a good can be neither formed nor possessed. End of the reading. The 28th of December, 1937, volume 35. Just as the redemption served to rescue the residences, the kingdom of my will serve to rescue and return them to the one who had created them. How in every act done in the divine will, God creates his divine life. I kept thinking about the divine will, how many touching scenes before my mind. A Jesus who cries, who prays, who suffers, because he wants to be life of every creature, and a crowd of crippled children, some blind, some mute, some lame, some other paralyzed, and others covered with sores, so as to move to pity. And my sweet Jesus, with the love that only he can have, runs now to one, now to another, holding them close, pressing them to his heart, touching them with his creative hands to heal them, telling them slowly and quietly to their hearts, my child, I love you. Receive my love and give me yours, and I will heal you. True love. My Jesus, my dear life, how much you love us. While I felt suffocated by his love, breathed on by his burning breath, he surprised me and said, Daughter of my love, let me pour it out. I cannot contain myself any longer. How hard it is to love and not be loved. Not having one to whom I can give my surprises of love is the most inexpressible pain for our Supreme Being. So listen, you must know that I came upon earth to rescue my residences. Man is my residence that I had formed with so much love, and in which to make it worthy of me, my power and the creative art of my wisdom had concurred. This residence was the prodigy of our love and of our divine hands. Now, by subtracting itself from our will, our residence became collapsed and obscured, a residence for enemies and thieves. What pain for us! Therefore, my life down here served to return, to restore, and to rescue this residence that we had formed with so much love. It was ours too. It was worthwhile saving it, to be able to reside in it again. I used all possible imaginable remedies to save this residence. I exposed my very life in order to strengthen it and cement it again. I shed all my blood to wash it from the filth, and with my death I wanted to restore its life, to make it worthy to receive again as his residence the one who had created it. Now, having used all the means to save our residence, it was also decorous for us to rescue the king who had to reside in it. Our love remained hampered halfway through the race, as if suspended and obstructed in its course. Therefore, the kingdom of our will rescue that fiat which was rejected by the creature, to allow its entrance inside its residence, and to make it reign and dominate as the sovereign that it is. Saving the residences would not be a work worthy of our creative wisdom if we left the one who is supposed to reside in them wandering around outside with no kingdom and no dominion. To save the residences while not saving oneself, being unable to live in the rescued residences, would be absurd, as if we didn't have enough power to save ourselves. This will never be. If we have the power to save our creative work, we will also have the power to rescue our own life within our work. Oh, yes, we will have our kingdom, and we'll make unheard of prodigies to have it. Our love will accomplish its course. It will not stop halfway. It will get rid of the shackles, continuing its race, bringing the balm to the wounds of the human will, and adorning these residences with divine ornaments. With its empire, it will call our fiat to reside and reign, giving it all the rights that are due to it. If the kingdom of my will were not certain, why would I fix and restore the residences? Ah, my daughter, you don't understand well what not doing our will means. They take all our rights from us. They suffocate many of our divine lives. Our love was and still is so great that in every act of the creature, we wanted to create ourselves, to be loved, to be known, and to have a continuous exchange of life between us and the creatures. It is impossible to do this without our will. Only our will has the power and the virtue of adapting the creature to receive our divine life and to put our love on the path in order to create ourselves within the act of the creature. You must know that in everything she does in our will, an irresistible force calls us. We look at her, we reflect ourselves in her, and with irresistible love, we create our life. If you knew what it means to create our life, there is such a great display of love that in our emphasis of love we say, ah, the creature, let us form our life in her act. We feel the equality with our love, sanctity, and glory, and remain in anxious waiting for the continuous repetition of her acts in our will to repeat our life, to have in her act ourselves loving and glorifying ourselves. Only then we fulfill the true scope of the creation. Everything serves ourselves. Even the most tiny act of the creature serves to repeat our life and to display our love. Therefore, living in our volition will be everything for us and everything for the creature. End of the reading. The 28th of December, 1938, volume 36. The echo between the creator and creature. Now, one act in the divine will can be found everywhere. The king and the army, the maternity of the Queen of Heaven. Although my poor mind is under the nightmare of tormenting sufferings, to the extent of feeling as if I were dying, I do what I can to follow the acts of the supreme volition. I look for it, though with difficulty, as my refuge, to draw strength in this painful state in which I find myself. My beloved Jesus, feeling compassion for me, all tenderness, told me, "Daughter of my will, courage, don't lose too much heart. Despondency makes you lose strength and makes you feel as if the one who lives in you and loves you so much is far away from you. You must know that as the creature enters our will to give her will and to take ours, she starts our divine echo in it. As we hear this echo in our divine being, we say, who has so much virtue as to produce the echo of her love, of her breathing and heartbeat in our supreme being? Ah, it is a creature who has recognized our will and entered to live in it. Be welcome. We will make her hear our echo in return, so that we'll breathe with one breath, love with one love, beat with one heartbeat. So we will feel the life of that creature within us. We will never feel lonely, and she will feel our life in her, the company of her Creator, who never leaves her alone. You have to know that no one act done in our will ever ends. Rather, it is continuously repeated, since my will is everywhere. That act is repeated in heaven, in created things, and in all else. Therefore, one act in my will surpasses everything, filling heaven and earth and giving us so much love and glory that all other works remain like many little drops before the ocean. We glorify ourselves through the creature who, covered by her Creator, operates together with him. Therefore, no matter how many beautiful things may be done outside of our will, they will never please us because they are not ours. They cannot be diffused everywhere. Such love is so small that it barely covers the act it made, if it covers it at all. You must know that although we love the creature very much, we cannot tolerate having her with us so indecent, filthy, without beauty, naked, and covered with miserable rags. It would not be worthy of our majesty to have children who do not look like us, or who are not somehow well dressed with the clothes of our fiat. It would happen as to the king, whose army and subjects are covered with filth, disgusting just to look at. One is blind, one crippled, another deformed. Wouldn't it be a dishonor for this king to be surrounded by an army of pathetic wretches? Shouldn't this king be condemned if he doesn't bother to form an army worthy of himself? Shouldn't all remain in admiration, not only at the sight of the majesty of this king, but also at his ordered and beautiful army, the blooming of the young and the way they are dressed? Would it not be an honor for the king to be surrounded by ministers and an army pleasing to his sight? Now, since we want to deal with the creature one-on-one, we have disposed in our invincible love and infinite wisdom to give her our will, so that she would be embellished with its light, clothed with its love, and sanctified with its sanctity. See then how necessary it is that our will reign in the creature. Only our will has the power to purify and embellish so as to form our divine army. And she will feel honoured to live with them and they with us. And they will be our children surrounding us, dressed with our divine clothes and embellished with our image. Therefore, our will purifies, sanctifies, and embellishes first. Then it admits them into our will to live together with us. Furthermore, as the creature enters our will, our love is such that we shower her with our rain of love and all run around her, seeing that we love her so much. The angels and the saints run to her to love her. The very creation joyfully exults in seeing our will triumphant in that creature. They all pour love on her, and oh, how beautiful she is, loved by all of us. And she feels so grateful for this love that she loves everyone in return. After this, I continued my round in the divine volition, and I arrived at the point of the birth of little Jesus, who was shivering for the cold, and wept and cried bitterly, with his eyes all swallowed in tears. He looked at me, asking for help, and between sobs and sighs he told me, "My good daughter, the lack of love from the creatures makes me cry bitterly. As I see that I am not loved, I feel wounded, and the pain is so great that I burst into tears. My love runs over each creature, chasing her. It hides her, while I replace her life with my life of love. But creatures ungrateful don't even say one, 'I love you.' How could I not cry? Therefore love me and calm my tears." Now, my daughter, listen to me and pay attention. I want to tell you a great surprise of our love, and nothing must escape you. I want you to know the extent of the maternity of my celestial mama, what she did, how much it cost her, and what she is still doing. You must know that the great queen was not my mother only in conceiving me, delivering me to the light, feeding me with her milk, and offering me all the possible cares that I needed during my infancy. This was not enough either to her maternal love or to my love as her son. Her maternal love was always running through my mind, and if the sorrowful thoughts were troubling me, she laid her maternity in each one of them, hiding them inside her love and kissing them. I could always feel my mind as if it was hidden under her maternal wings that never left me alone. Each one of my thoughts was kept by my loving mother, who gave me all her maternal attentions. Her maternity was placed in each one of my breaths and heartbeats. And if my breath and heartbeats felt smothered by my love and suffering, she would run with her maternity to free me from my suffocating love and put balm on my pierced heart. If she looked, spoke, worked, and walked, she ran as a mother to receive in her maternal love my glances, words, works, and steps, investing them with her love and hiding them in her heart. She would also make her maternal love flow in the food she prepared for me, so that while eating it, I could feel her loving maternity. How much more could I tell you of the expression of her maternity in my sufferings? There was not a pain, not a drop of blood I shed that was not felt by my mother. But after doing these things as my mother, she would then take all my pains and my blood and hide them inside her maternal heart to love me and continue her maternity. Who could say how much she loved me and how much I loved her? My love was such that in everything I could not be without feeling her maternity within me. I could say that she would run, never to leave me alone, not even in my breathing. And I called her. Her maternity was for me a need, a relief, a support for my life down here. Now, my daughter, listen to another love surprise of your Jesus and of our Heavenly Mother. In all we did, Love was never obstructed between us. The love of one ran into the love of the other to form one single life. But in wanting to do the same with creatures, how many obstructions, rejections, ingratitudes do we find? You must know that as my inseparable mother laid her maternity inside and outside of my humanity, so she was made and confirmed as mother of every thought, every breath, every heartbeat and word of creatures, placing her maternity in their works, in their steps, and in all their sufferings. Her maternity runs everywhere. If creatures are in danger of falling into sin, she covers them with her maternity to prevent them from falling. And if they do, she leaves her maternity as help and defense to make them stand up again. Her maternity runs and lays also on the souls who want to be good and holy, as if she found her Jesus in them. She becomes mother of their intelligence and guide of their words, covering and hiding them in her maternal love in order to grow as many other Jesuses. Her maternity shows on the beds of the dying. Using the rights of authority as mother given to her by me, in such a tender tone that I cannot refuse her anything, she says, "My son, I am the mother, and they are my children. I must save them. If you don't grant me this, my maternity would be compromised." And as she says this, she covers them with her love, hiding them with her maternity to rescue them. My love was such that I told her, "Mother, I want you to be the mother of all, and I want you to do for all creatures all that you have done for me, laying your maternity in all their acts, so that I will see them covered and hidden in your maternal love." My mother accepted and remained confirmed, not only as the mother of all, but also as the one who would invest each of their acts with her maternal love. This was one of the greatest graces I have given the whole of the human generations. But what pains does my mother not receive? Creatures even reach the point of not wanting to recognize her maternity, of denying it. Therefore, the whole of heaven prays and anxiously waits for the divine will to be known and to reign. Then the great Queen will do to the children of my will what she did for her Jesus, and her maternity will have life in her children. I will give my own place in her maternal heart to those who live in my will. She will raise them for me, guiding their steps and hiding them in her maternity and sanctity. Her maternal love and her sanctity will be impressed in all their acts. They will be her true children, being like me in everything. Oh, how I would love everyone to know that if they want to live in my will, they have a queen and a powerful mother who will compensate for all they lack. She will raise them on her maternal lap, being with them in everything they do, moulding their acts as her own, to the extent that they will be known as the children, grown, kept, and educated by the loving maternity of my mamma. These will be the ones who will make her happy, the ones who will be her glory and honour. End of the reading. There are no more readings today. Have a blessed day.